It's food o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Bisto classic cottage pie made with 100% minced beef. It goes in the oven for 40 minutes or it microwaves for 11.5 minutes. I'm going to stick it in the oven. I just fancy this out the oven today. So what you do, open it up, take off the film lid, I like to make sure all of the film's off. I mean, not that it matters too much, but getting rid of a lot of that plastic for me is good. I know it's sitting in a plastic tray, but you can't do much about that. Grab a baking tray, stick it in a baking tray, and it goes in the oven for 40 minutes. Okay, so we'll be back soon. Okay, it's ready. Knock the oven off. There's a look at it. It's been in more than an hour. And the reason why it's been in more than an hour is because on the top of this packaging, they've got it looking fantastically golden and the potatoes slightly crispy and kind of try to recreate that, and it's, well, it looks a little bit dry. And the other thing, if you have a look down the side here, some of the plastic has melted, which is a bit of a shocker really. Right, so I'm going to get underneath this. That is a bit of a shocker, isn't it? It's sticky. I'll burn myself. Getting rid of that. Yeah, so slightly disappointed with. I mean, you can't be too disappointed. It's not, you know, you're not paying a great deal of money for these things. I don't think it was any more than £1 to buy. Well, there it is. It's a cottage pie, so I don't know about you guys, but I'm the type to kind of mix it all up. But what we'll do before we mix it up too much, I suppose we'll get a little bit of that potato. Now, I'm not one for. I get a lot of comments. Look at me talking through all this steam. It's like I'm in a sauna. I get a lot of comments in the comments box. People saying, "Oh, he eats terribly, you know, he eats really badly." And honestly, I'm not one for these oven-baked meals. I'm not one for these microwave meals. I'm doing it to branch out. It's a bit like when I first started reviewing beer. I would pick up any beers in the supermarket and review them. Well, it's kind of the same with the food. What interests me about this food is the fact that it sells out really quickly. When they're £1, you go in 1 week and there's like a whole chest freezer full of the damn things, and then you go there a few days later and they're all gone. So they're really popular, and I just want to know, what's all the fuss about? I mean, for me, having plastic in my food is not ideal at all. I mean, if that has melted, oh, it's hot. Potato's quite nice actually. If that's melted off the side of there, which, I mean, it clearly has, you can see it's shrunk and melted, then surely a little bit of that, and you can see as well it's shrunk a bit, the plastic. Surely a little bit of that plastic has ended up in your food. It has to have done. Without a shadow of a doubt. And that's quite concerning really. I work with, I live right next to a plastics factory called Dow Corning. If you put it into Google search, Dow Corning UK, you'll more or less see where I live. And I always used to serve an old guy in the pub when I worked there about 21 years ago, 22 years ago now, when I was a 19-year-old. I used to serve an old guy called Fred. And Fred was he was the last surviving person who used to work in the old plastics factory. It's still going, but it was a different type of plastics factory back then. And he used to argue the fact that when plastic was hot, it used to release some kind of gas or some kind of oil into the air. And he even suggested that plastic milk bottles, when they're cold, they still, even if it's like micro kind of tiny amounts of toxins in the air, he still reckons that plastic milk bottles will be releasing tiny toxins into the air and into the milk. That was his argument. So by heating this type of thing up with a plastic tray, and certainly with it melting like that, that's a bit of a concern, isn't it? It must be a bit of a concern. But they sell really quickly. The potato is actually really nice. It's that, almost like that kind of smash, instant kind of potato you buy in a packet, powder. You mix it up with some water or milk or whatever you do. I've never bought it. Oh yeah, and this with the Bisto gravy, the mincemeat, that's where the pie really shines. I can see a million miles away why these sell. I can see why people pick these things up for £1 when they're so cheap. This all mixed up and couple of frozen peas on there, or a couple of, I mean, if you're going to use a frozen cottage pie, then you're probably going to use frozen peas as well, aren't you? Tin of peas and carrots, and you got yourself a meal. And it's really quite tasty. The potato's really nice. The mincemeat is really nice. If you're on a budget, I mean, it costs you £1 for your tea, hasn't it? And a bit of gas. Or a bit of electric if you put it in the microwave. Which I'm probably sure a lot of people do. It is quite tasty. I wasn't expecting an awful lot, to be honest. I wasn't expecting much at all. But the gravy's rich, of course, it's Bisto. The mince is quite nice. The potato is really, really good. It's that kind of sticky, kind of aeroplane type mashed potato. The type of mashed potato you get maybe in a fast food pub, where you go in and your dinner, by the time you've ordered your food, it's come to you already. That's interesting. Really interesting. But again, all the shapes on that plastic, the shrinkage, the movement, the melting. I wouldn't buy this pie again just after looking at that plastic dish, unless I took it out of the plastic dish and I cooked it on a plate in the oven. I mean, that could be the answer. But you don't know then if it's all going to melt everywhere and be a mess on your plate. You just don't know. It was meant to be cooked in this plastic pot. And for me, that's a ticking time bomb. If you eat these things often, you're putting all of this. There's got to be a little bit of plastic toxin. There has to be a little bit of plastic toxins entering your system without a shadow of a doubt, especially with it melting. That is quite a big concern. Quite a big concern. I mean, I'm going to finish it because I'm hungry, and I don't do this type of thing often. So hopefully the minimal plastic that's made its way into the food, or the toxins that's made its way into the food, are minimal. It's not like I do it every day. What do they say about this then? Cottage pie with minced beef and onions in a rich, thick gravy, topped with mashed potato. Let's read it again. Preheat oven, gas mark 6, remove outer packaging and film lid. Yeah, okay, so that's the outer packaging, and we took off the film lid. Place container on a baking tray on the middle shelf of the oven and cook for 40 minutes, leaving to stand for 1 minute before serving. Allow tray to stand to regain rigid... there we are, look at this in bold writing. Allow tray to stand to regain its rigidness. Oh my goodness me. So they're admitting that, you know, they're not even hiding away from the fact that this thing's gonna melt a little bit. That's for me, that's insane. That is insane. Wow. How much mince then? 53% mashed potato. Minced beef gravy 47%. Water and minced beef 29%. So it's just under a third minced beef. It's over a half potato. Oh. It's nice. It's nice, but it's a bit scary at the same time. It's a bit Fallout-like, isn't it? Fallout, you know, where you kind of... You go outside to pick up some food, and you know by going outside in the game that you're exposing your body to radiation. It's not radiation, but it's certainly plastic toxins. I wish I put a little bit of cheese on the top of that, and a bit of Liam Perrin sauce or something like that would really spice that up. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. If I was just reviewing the food on its own, I would have given it a 7 or an 8 out of 10. But I'm absolutely shocked and appalled by that black plastic tray. The more I think about it, the more it scares me. Thanks very much. 6 out of 10. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom! Cheers!